Thesis statements. What are they? How can we make them? And how can we make them really, really good? Hi, I'm Professor Page.
And I'm Professor Sandor.
Start simple. What is a thesis?
A thesis is a combination of a topic and your opinion about that topic.
For example, history tests,
Are stressful,
good relationships,
depend on open communication,
Mr. Page.
is the best teacher of all time.
You're darn right. Because thesis statements aren't facts, they need to be arguable. In other words, could a reasonable person disagree with it? History tests are stressful.
History tests are easy.
Strong relationships depend on open communication.
Strong relationships depend on shared goals.
Mr. Page is the best teacher of all time.
Mr. Page is the worst teacher of all time.
Okay. How to start? Well, first you need to find out what the assignment is asking you to write about.
Should the U.S. make high-speed Wi-Fi free for all citizens?
Explain the main causes of anxiety amongst new college students.
Does Levi Strauss's definition of a hero apply to the character of Chris Washington in the film Get Out?
In all these examples, we can use the words in the question to figure out the topic. Sometimes it's just a couple of the words, sometimes it's most of them. For example,
Should the U.S. make high-speed Wi-Fi free for all citizens?
in this case, the words in green, the U.S., high-speed Wi-Fi, free for all citizens, those are all important parts of the topic.
Explain the main causes of anxiety amongst new college students.
Here, most of the question or prompt is the topic.
Does Levi Strauss's definition of a hero apply to the character of Chris Washington in the film Get Out?
Here, the topic is Levi Strauss's definition of a hero and the character Chris Washington from Get Out. Now, we can add possible opinions or answers to each one. The U.S.
Should or shouldn't?
make high-speed Wi-Fi free for all citizens. The main causes of anxiety amongst new college students
Are social pressures, family life, jobs, academic pressures, food insecurity, social media, political and economic pressures.
Levi Strauss's definition of a hero,
Does not apply to.
the character of Chris Washington in the film Get Out. Now, we can decide what our opinion is and start with simple phrasing, using the same words that are in the question. For example, the U.S.
Should provide.
high-speed Wi-Fi free for all citizens. The main causes of anxiety amongst new college students,
Are jobs and academic pressure.
Levi Strauss's definition of a hero,
Applies to.
the character of Chris Washington in the film Get Out. So most of the work is already done. Now, let's work on these to make them a little more original and expressive.
The U.S. should provide high-speed Wi-Fi for free for all citizens.
And a little better,
Free high-speed Wi-Fi should be considered a right for all U.S. citizens.
ooh! The main causes of anxiety amongst new college students are jobs and academic pressure. Okay, a little better might be, the leading causes of anxiety and stress in today's college students are a combination of financial and academic responsibilities. Oh yeah.
Levi Strauss's definition of a hero applies to the character of Chris Washington in the film Get Out. Could become the character Chris Washington from Jordan Peele's film Get Out is a strong example of what Levi Strauss calls a hero.
Exactly. Finally, though we don't have to, this part is optional, we can extend the thesis in different ways to make it a little longer.
Include a general explanation that supports the thesis.
Free, high-speed Wi-Fi should be considered a right for all U.S. citizens, here's the extension, because it is necessary in today's world.
Include a preview of the main supporting points.
Free, high-speed Wi-Fi should be considered a right for all U.S. citizens because it will improve the economy, benefit education, and help everyone feel connected.
You can include a brief comment on the stakes or consequences of the thesis.
Free high-speed Wi-Fi should be considered a right for all U.S. citizens before a gap in digital access divides the country even further. Good, better, best. Once you have a strong thesis, it will be easier to support in your body paragraphs. For example,
Mr. Page is the worst teacher of all time.
well, start with who is Mr. Page, brief bio or summary.
Well, why is he so bad at teaching?
Explain specific examples of why he's bad.
Why is he worse than other teachers?
Okay, explain why these examples are worse than others. Maybe an example of a good teacher.
How has his bad teaching impacted people?
Maybe you explain that negative consequences are. Good time for a specific example of a student who didn't learn in his class.
What should be done about it?
Mr. Page should be fired, possibly shot into space. Those were thesis statements.